You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We're so happy to have with us Mr. John Fitzpatrick, CEO of Force Marketing. You've seen him here before on CBT News, and it's always great having you in the studio to get an update on marketing, all things marketing, I should say, for dealers out there. One thing I will tell you, John, that we get a lot of inquiries about, and I should say comments, people, dealer friends of mine will text me or, send me an email every now and then. And it seems as though dealers are now on the fence. Do we spend more money in advertising these cars on a per car basis, or however dealers figure that out? Because I know that differs from store to store. But or do we try to hold on to a small spend like they've been used to in the last 4 years, right? We've talked about that.
That's right.
Where does that stand right now? And I know that you've got your hand on the pulse of this because you work with so many large dealer groups, publicly traded companies,
We do.
and private cap companies across the country. So what are they telling you, and what's the deal on this?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jim, you're right. It's a huge topic right now. And there's some soul searching going on inside these corporate boardrooms of, our advertising and marketing, is it an expense that we always look to cut and make sure it's as lean and mean as possible?
Right.
Or do we truly view it as an investment and we're looking for the best ROI based on all the different channels, all the data points that we have? And, they're struggling with that. And obviously profitability's gone down quite considerably since last year. So as we look at year over year metrics, and, certainly over the last 2 years, it's painful for a lot of our dealer groups to try to compete in today's marketplace.
Right.
Where one thing we're realizing and one thing that we're sharing is that we're seeing this affordability issue continue with the consumer. Yeah. Right. The consumer is looking for a monthly payment more than they're looking for a vehicle. Yeah. But demand is still there, right? Age of vehicle is still there. And all of the needs from the consumer side to get a new car still exist. And so what we're finding and what we've been sharing with a lot of our partners and doing some studies for them, much like McKinsey would, but very much on auto marketing, is, how much should we be spending? How should we be thinking about it? Right. And, is it right that it feels like we're spending more? And here's what we found. Because the consumer is looking for that affordability concern of theirs, and they're also inundated with all of these EV options that they haven't had before. Of course. And that's causing some pause and some hesitation. Right. Then the consumer's in the funnel longer. Their traditional funnel where you go from awareness and intent and consideration down to a purchase. Yeah. If they're in the funnel longer, that costs marketers more money. Right. It just does. Yeah. Right. So what was once a $6 cost per click, which by the way, marketing has also had its rate of inflation. And so we're seeing that, that $6 click is now an $8 click. We're seeing about a 10 to 15% increase in the cost of media. Okay. Right. And so as you think about it just costing more to connect with that consumer, it's now taking more clicks to get that consumer to come in and make a decision.
Because they're staying in the market longer.
More consideration, right? More consideration. Do I buy the EV? Do I buy the ICE? Where do I buy it from? Well, wait a second. It seems like there's an opportunity over here. Hey, I just read a headline that incentives are coming out soon. Rates might drop. There's so many different moving parts. We're in an election year. That's, not always a huge indicator in auto, but when you're 2 months out, yes, let's just wait till after the election.
It's funny you should say that because I just had lunch with a friend of mine and I said, are you in the market for a car? Because he had mentioned, he was asking me some questions. He goes, I've been in the market for a car for about 8 months now. And I thought, my car guy hat went on and said, wow, that's kind of a long time.
That's an
extremely
long time.
Typically see that with consumers. Right. They usually see a car or their friends got a vehicle or they want to replace the one they have. And within about 30 days, boom, they're driving that new car.
Right. And remember, we've gotten so focused as we should have with in-market, right? And auto intenders, right? And we're super low funnel and we're all battling for that lowest funnel buyer that's going to buy within 7 days. Right. Okay. That guy's taking longer. Yeah. That person is taking longer. Right. And
how much, if you had to venture a guess, how much longer is that 7-day buyer now taking?
I could see as much as 3x in some of the early data that we're seeing. So the person that was ready to buy, let's say, in all the data points, 5 to 7 days, is taking as many as 20. Okay. Right. So again, but they're still clicking around. They're still looking to educate themselves on the purchase. Right. Well, when you click around, it costs you, right? As a retailer, right? That's going to cost you money. And then your connectivity versus, streaming media and upper funnel, maybe pre-market initiatives, those become more important, right? Because if we can create a connection and a relationship with them upper funnel, we have a better chance of winning them lower funnel, right? And so all of those factors,
Mm-hmm.
we are seeing that, yes, cost of media is up. Yes, it is taking more clicks to get the buyer in. And so it's something to be aware of. Now, it's coming at the same time, Jim, and you started out with this, and I'm glad that you did. It's coming at the same time that dealers are hurting on profitability, and looking for ways to expense their way to profitability.
Of course.
And so,
and marketing is always one of those easily pulled levers, right?
I
did it myself as a manager. It was like, well, hold up on the marketing, because we always thought that, well, if the market's not there, then are we, making noise to an audience that isn't even there right now? It's a mistake, though, isn't it?
I think it is, because I believe in marketing. So that it tests, that's why I said they're soul searching. It tests you on, do you really believe in the power of marketing and advertising? Because if you do, you're going, while they all step back and expense their way to profitability in my market, I'm doubling down and I'm winning the buyer. The buyers are still there. And so what we're saying is, first of all, you should always treat your ad lineup as an investment, looking at every area and making sure you're maximizing the ad dollar.
Now, that investment might not be bringing the same return that it brought a year ago or 2 years ago, that we were all spoiled on because we were drunk on the whole COVID situation. And so is it, let me ask you this, is the spending back to pre-COVID levels, or where does it stand? Are we having to spend more than we did in 2019?
Yeah, that's a good question. Our early indication is that we're certainly back to 19 levels, but we are getting close to needing to spend more. Than 2019 levels.
And if you compare just the economy and you throw inflation in there,
that's right,
just to spend the same means you're falling behind, right?
Now, here's the other caveat I will give, because I just inherently don't like to say you have to spend more money in marketing. Because there are still areas where the dollar's being wasted. And so if you're just looking at your line item of marketing expenses and all the different vendors that make up a marketing budget, and you're trying to keep that as close to the same as possible without diving into each line item and saying, what's the ROI on this? What's the ROI on that? From third party to Google to Facebook, all the way through, or Meta rather. Then yes, you need to spend more. But if you dial into each one, what you'll find is there's areas that you can turn off and put that money where you are getting the better investment and move money around the marketing pie.
So you can be smarter about it.
You can be smarter about it, which is really what we always like to preach at Force Marketing, is let the data dictate. Be smarter about where you're spending the ad dollar, the connectivity to the consumer. And, but look, we're getting calls from, 60 store group the other day. Hey, we were tasked with cutting $600,000 a month out of advertising. It's got to go. Well, wait a second. Should you be cutting it? We're not quite sure, nor do we have the time. October's right around the corner. It's got to go. That's a massive red flag. You need to rethink that decision. Right. And we're one of many vendors in that category that have been tasked with that. But that's the reality. I mean, these conversations are happening all over the country in dealerships. In some cases, we're seeing, it change the relationship inside the dealership. In other words, there's a GM the other day that had been in a group for 8 years and decided, I don't like our decisions right now. I'm out. And so certainly I'm not going to name names, but there's friction right now on this topic. And there's friction inside of every single ad agency and marketing company and third-party provider right now, in the sense that it is a high visibility area to say, do we have the right marketing mix? Are we with the right vendors? Are we spending the right accordingly? Because we're not feeling it on the balance sheet.
And I will tell you this, because I've been on both sides of the coin here. The easiest way to get a GM or a dealer, to grant you a pitch, is to say, wow, Mr. Dealer, you're spending way too much money on marketing. We could save you a ton of money. That's just what they want to hear. Oh, you can? I'm spending too much money? That's it.
That's right.
And no matter who they're with, they're going to say, put me on pause. I'm going to talk to this guy over here. He tells me I'm spending way too much money on advertising, which we both know may or may not be the case, but at least it gets that other person in the door. Only to find out 6 months later that this one's coming to you too, going, what the last guy said was actually right. We're in an environment where you got to spend more money, right? So there's just so many, the dealers getting, rope-a-dope right now, against the ropes, where everybody is telling them different stories.
We're seeing that. This is where relationships matter so much, right? Because you got to have a team you trust. And then trust the data, move the dollars in the area that are getting the best ROI. But it's also a time that if you don't trust that team, you might need to make a change.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
That's there too. These
Right.
times bring that up.
Right.
We'd like to be on more the winning side of that than losing, but we're going to lose in this area just because
Sure.
people are freaking out
Right.
and looking at year-over-year metrics and saying this doesn't work anymore for
That's
us.
right.
And hopefully they'll continue to lean in. And I don't want to hit any kind of major red flag. I think anybody that's watching this knows that a general manager or a dealer principal that was not showing up to as many of the marketing meetings, they're at all the meetings right now. I promise you.
That's right.
I promise you.
They're trying to figure out where are my
And they should
buyers?
be.
And they should be. Right. They should be.
That's right.
There's no question about it. Let me ask you this. This week, the Fed dropped the rate by a full 0.5 point.
Yep.
I think every dealer was like, yay, that's exactly what we need to hear. Obviously, there's consumer confidence kicks in, notch it up a little bit. People feel better. They're spending less on their mortgages, less on their car payments, less on their credit card bills, just less across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if it's a tremendous amount of money that they're saving, but the average consumer thinks that, okay, this is a great time to buy a car.
Yep.
To your point, this is when dealers want to be out there,
I
right?
would explain it. Use your marketing as a communication tool.
Yeah.
Explain it.
Yeah.
Don't think that the consumer just knows that a 0.5 basis point means that that's going to lower their monthly payment.
Right.
If they're shopping for a monthly payment and all the data we have indicates that they are over a vehicle, in other words, just where can I get an affordable car?
Sure.
Then we need to be educating them. We need to be using our marketing channel as a way to explain how that Fed move makes a difference in their household monthly payment.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, and that's down to, marketing payment or monthly payment or affordability. And those are the things driving the decision right now. That will bring them out of hold and wait to, no, now might be the right time. Let's go ahead and do that.
That's right.
The biggest thing I can say is demand is still there.
Yeah.
Right. Demand has not gone away. Mm-hmm. And so if the demand is there, we just have to work a little harder to get more than our fair share of the pie. Okay. We can win there.
Yeah.
There's a winning opportunity.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, dealers are still grappling with the idea of having, that we're going back to this normalization in the industry. Although I think a lot of them have come to terms with it and said, okay, it's the car business, the way it was, 4 or 5 years ago. And of course, OEMs, what did they do? We knew they were all going to do it. We talked about here at CBT News 5 years ago. Do you think they're going to learn their lesson and keep inventories low? No, they don't learn their lesson. They just keep stockpiling these dealerships with, 40, 55, 60, 65, 75, 120-day supply of vehicles, right?
Yep. And we've just put together a white paper. We work with about 1,400 dealers. We asked, we did our own survey to say, what's on your minds? What are the top 3 things on your minds right now? And we'll have that available on your site. We'll furnish that and they can click and read it. And if there's a way that we can help, we'd love to. But we broadened it out past 3 because it wasn't the same 3. So it turned out to be like a top 10 list almost.
Cool.
And, your viewers are, can have access to that. And if we can help in any way, or maybe they're saying, oh my God, we're seeing a lot of, the same sentiment around the dealership when it comes to particularly marketing and advertising, give us a call. We'd love to help, sort of talk through it.
If you had to choose 1 or 2 or maybe 3 questions that a dealer should be asking his marketing, either agency or team, in-house or on an outsourced basis, what do you think those should be? Because a lot of times dealers don't necessarily know, to your point, they don't sit in on all the marketing meetings. What should they be asking right now to be getting the information they need?
So first, let's make sure that the data they're collecting is not just looking at the vanity metrics that Meta and Google and the rest will give you about cost per click, bounce rate, click-through rate. Those are all important. Okay. And you should figure out what industry is and be as good as industry, if not better. Okay. That's first. That's an easy one though, right? Then are you connected to the DMS? Is your attribution connected to the CRM? And is what the marketing team is telling you matching what you're seeing in the CRM? Okay. And the best place to go is closing percentage, right? Are those leads closing? Right. And because a lead coming from one area might close at a higher rate than the other area. Okay. So when we talk about shifting ad dollars,
area, you mean advertising area.
Channel, right? Advertising area, right? Let's just use Google and Meta as an example, right? If a Meta lead closes better than a Google lead, well, I would take a little bit of Google money and put it in Meta. And I'm not suggesting that's the case. Right. I'm just saying those would be 2 channels. Okay. And so, and then you've got mail and email and all of the different categories, third-party leads, right? Where I'm also seeing a lot more of marketing teams play a bigger role in the discussion on the third-party partners. Are those leads effective? Are they closing at a higher rate? The CRM will often say, well, that lead came from cars.com. Meanwhile, you had, or AutoTrader or any of them, But meanwhile, the CRM will also show you, if you dig, that there was connectivity to that consumer in 4 or 5 other channels.
Okay.
Yet it's only getting validated to the one that you bought in that last click scenario.
Gotcha.
And so, it's really understanding the customer journey, how long that journey is, and letting the data that connects to the CRM, which is the connectivity to the dealership, right? What your people are telling you, right? That should be in the CRM if it's run properly. And having a healthy debate and conversation around that, that's a great area to start.
Okay, great.
Connect the marketing to the CRM, make sure that that's all dialed in.
Right. I know that dealers are out there right now asking themselves these questions. These are the solutions that we want to be bringing you here at CBT News. And if you have any questions about marketing, or you'd like to, just maybe talk to John about what his company can do for you, it's Force Marketing. We'll show all the information on the screen here. These guys do a great job, as I mentioned earlier, with private cap companies, with publicly traded companies. They've got their hand on the pulse of what's happening. So, John, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Always
great.
I know there's a lot of dealers out there that are just about to pull the lever. So maybe we change their mind. I don't know.
I like the awareness on marketing and advertising right now.
Yeah.
Because I shared with you the last time, you said, hey, how's everything going? I said, God, it's so good to feel needed again.
Right? Yeah, right.
Because look, all of 21 and all of 22. They're selling them off the truck, making, tons of money, selling over us for paying, God bless them.
Right.
But marketing was like, why do I need to spend money in marketing? Right.
Exactly.
For a good 2 years there.
Right.
That's quite different now. And so I like the awareness. I like that we're talking about how come the dollar didn't go further in advertising. That's healthy.
Yeah.
We welcome it.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate
it.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.